Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll get back into our council meeting, and we're at item 8.6. Welcome back, Bex. CDC response to external consultations policy.
Everybody. So I'll take the report as read, but just a couple of comments, especially for the new councillors. So back in August, we bought a paper on the back of the government releasing a lot of submissions and legislation change. And as we've seen, that's happening at pace as we go through this year. So one of the suggestions after we started preparing a submission was that we created a process so that it facilitated an all of council view, but also helped staff to know when to submit and when not to submit. So hence the purpose of this policy that I'm presenting today. Just a couple of notes. There wasn't a lot of councils around New Zealand that have policies like this. So this is perhaps a bit of a working document that we review, fairly regularly as we get it standardised and sorted. We wanted to make sure that it captured the voice of all of council and wasn't an ad hoc process, but a really planned approach. I think one of the things that we want to consider is that submissions will vary on the impact of the proposed change. So some may require community or iwi engagement, others may just be purely operational and led by staff. Often the timeframes are short, so we've introduced a rapid response to the policy as well for quick turnaround. We can still have our voice heard as a council, but there's an avenue for us to turn things around quickly. And probably most importantly is that we make submissions when there's substantial impact or concern. It takes a lot of time to do the research to submit, and the process, as you'll see, is time consuming. But I think an addition that I haven't put because it was an afterthought was maybe we create, based on our criteria, some kind of quick assessment flowchart based on our KPIs and our LTP, so that we're making sure there's strategic alignment with our submissions, and we can show and evidence why we're making submissions, and they're all linked through to our strategic objectives. Any questions, feedback? Anything missing?
Thanks, Bex. Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No, Deputy Mayor.
I was just making sure that I didn't miss it, but I don't think there's anything in here where it talks about AI or the use of AI to potentially take some of that workload when there's submissions where we can put it into a little AI tool and it can spit out some lines for us that could then be just looked over. I think I made the point in the meeting we had a few months ago that if councils stop submitting on some of this legislation, what kind of message does it give to the Joe Blog down the road who also is feeling sort of uninspired to submit, but we need people to engage in government policy. So I'd feel comfortable if there was some sort of framework where we utilised AI to make sure that we're still submitting, we're still being heard, we're still participating in the process, but not at a massive cost or time cost or financial cost to our council, because I appreciate the amount of effort it would to go through every piece of legislation, but that's where I think AI could be useful to speed it up and make sure that we're still engaged, but not, beholden to their whims.
Bex, you mentioned not many councils. I looked up. Just Horowhenua came up. And I actually had a squiz through theirs and I thought, this is better. So you've done a great job putting this together.
I did read these.
I could tell. But look, one thing I'm just wondering, under criteria, and you've mentioned iwi, I'm just wondering whether under criteria for engaging in submissions, whether we should actually be mentioning the word tangata whenua, just in that. I know it's probably mentioned under local community, but should we be mentioning actual tangata whenua? Questions, discussion? All happy? Excellent.
Just in terms of the Deputy Mayor's comment, is that worth trying to integrate in here? Are we just going to sign it off and sort that out later, or?
Is it required to specify it, or you can just use the tools at your discretion? It's in our IT policy or whatnot.
I don't think we need to specify it. I also note we do plagiarise, submissions from LGNZ and
Yeah.
Tuara and some of the legal firms that provide guidance. So we will use AI to plagiarise as much as possible. Their views align with council's views. I also note some of the recent government policy announcements have suggested that government is going to use AI to read the submissions that come in. So rather than having thousands and thousands of pages that some policy analyst goes through, they will use AI to pull out the various components. So we use the tool as much as possible to make our submission unique, which will then highlight it to the algorithm.
Yeah.
There was just one question that I raised with Jeff when we were writing this about whether you would like submissions to go out from the CE or whether the CE could delegate to others to submit them on Carterton District Council's behalf.
For example, Ricky does all our work in climate change. Should we be talking to Ricky and allowing Ricky, who's our expert, or Solitaire is our expert in planning, so, should Solitaire be spinning on RM reforms?
Yeah.
Just a question for council.
I think it carries more weight coming from the relevant people because they know that they're subject experts. So I think having them with the CDC at the bottom would be a good policy.
Unless it comes from the mayor.
Unless it,
Up to you, Jeff. I thought you might be more comfortable with your name at the bottom of them, or maybe you wouldn't. That's your call.
Okay.
Do you have both?
Could do.
But you've given oversight to the respective manager, and you're happy with that to
It's
endorse their
like
report.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do like the idea of it coming from a specific person too. That cover your answer your question? With that, if that's the end of the questions and discussion, we have 3 recommendations.
May I make an observation?
Yes.
Your worship? So we will trial this. I think it's really important to note that some of the timelines that we are getting from central government are very short indeed. So Bex and Glenda and I have talked about, at least framing up how we would like to proceed. So we'd like to trial it and if it's not working, with your permission, to bring it back with some potential suggested improvements. But yeah, this is our attempt at managing the workload that's coming at us. We don't believe we can get to everything, and it may not be perfect, but we'd like to give it a go.
Does that recommendation number 3 cover that? Jeff, minor editing and changes in formatting may occur.
Could we just add in there the CE?
Yeah. So explaining it's a living document or whatever.
You could perhaps ask for it to come back in 12 months, which is normally we have our policy on a 3 or a slightly 5 or a 6 year cycle, but you might want to do this one on a 1 year cycle and then bring it back for a consideration after 12 months, see how it's working, and then perhaps put it on a 3 year policy cycle.
Yeah, that's good.
So make that a recommendation.
Yeah. As a 4th, that it'll be put to the council after 12 months. If you're okay with
To
that.
review its effectiveness.
Okay.
Yep.
You read that out. Right, let's take the first three. Are you happy if I take those together? Receives the report, adopts the external consultations policy and notes that prior to public release of the policy, minor editing and changes in formatting may occur if required. I'm happy to move. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Burns. All in favour? Against? Carried. And we have another recommendation for Deputy Mayor.
Would this just be a note as well? Notes that the policy will be returned to council for reconsideration.
Review.
After 12
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
In 12 months.
Is that all right, Robin?
You happy to move that?
Yep, I'll move that.
Signet.
Councillor Nadella, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Bex. Well done.
Thank you.
8.7, report on the administration of Carterton District Council's practices in relation to the control of dogs for the year 1st of July 2024 to 30th of June 2025.
Good title.
Oh,
Thank you, Your Worship. Elected members, this is a report that we are required to do annually. Just the statistics about our animal control. So what I've done, it's been fairly consistent for anybody that decided that they would have a look at the December council meeting from last year. I'm not sure if any of you did, but I'll just highlight a few bits and pieces. So complaints are very standard, 201 last year to 200 this year. A similar number of infringements. The interesting statistics in here is that in terms of bites, we have had some more bites on animals this year, 8 to 12, and dogs rushing went from 9 to 20. So you either take it as a really good thing that people are reporting it so we can deal with it, which that's how I'm viewing it, because it can just be a dog rushing up to a gate. So in which case it's like, oh, maybe put a second gate in so the dogs can't get up to the front property. Some really good ones. So our barking is down by 2, but wandering is down significantly from 74 dogs last year to 37 this year. So I think that is a really, really good result that we have.
Those on Facebook posts, weren't they? Wandering dogs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And also the number of welfare complaints is down this year from 8 to 3. Having said that, we have impounded a few more dogs, but a lot of our impounding is not a lot of long-term overnight stays. It's the dog's been brought to the council office or we've gone and picked it up and it's been a pound for that day because something's happened and then the owners have been able to organise to come and collect it. So they're still classified as impounding, but they're not necessarily the big overnight stays. And we have rehomed 4 dogs that we had in the pound facilities. So being able to rehome is a real success story for us. We had 1 dog surrendered, voluntary surrender of the dog, and that dog was one of the 2 that was euthanized, which is not a step we take lightly, and it's our last resort, and it's generally, if temperament-wise, it would be a really dumb move to rehome it in any
Is
situation.
that as a result of a legal thing? You know, was there an attack or something that caused the owner to surrender the dog?
Some of it is unpaid fines, out court wander in the streets, not microchip, not registered, impounded, they can't pay all those fees. Potentially they're the ones that get rehomed. In this instance, it was a result of an attack.
Attack, right.
And with it, we do have, if it's been surrendered, we can get them put down in a reasonably quick time frame. If we collect a dog from an attack and have to hold it and go through a court case or a court process to destroy it, it can take up to 12 months.
Does it need to go through a court process?
Yes, if the owners,
If the owners dispute.
yeah. So we like to encourage them to surrender. We did have one that was surrendered on Friday. And rather than getting it euthanized straight away, because it certainly did not have a temperament to even consider a rehoming, we did opt to keep it the entire weekend, just in case they changed their mind or could come up with the required money for the registration and microchipping, et cetera, et cetera. So not a great result for the dog, but actually a good result for the public and safety. But yeah, it's not a job that animal control officers
Enjoy.
enjoy. So on that grim note,
Questions, so.
I've got a question, looking at the financial impact, 7.2 paragraph 7. The finances, for the animal control is 80% from fees and charges and 20% being funded as the public good portion. Is that 20% a little bit too high? I'd like to know that 20% of the funding, if you've got 2,700 odd dogs, 20% of that is quite a bit of money for euthanizing one or two dogs or looking after animal welfare of some dogs that aren't collected or whatever. What's
bear in mind that it says there is no financial impact as a result of this report, and that animal control as a whole is funded 80-20. It
Yeah.
doesn't say dog control is funded 80-20. So the whole animal control thing is stop wandering on roads. It's wider than dogs. It's the rooster call outs. It's dealing with all the other animal issues as well. So that's that public good component. It covers the cost of the dog, bins, all that aspects of it. So, when we've had to go out to Craigie Lee Road, 6-7 times with stock and you can't find the owner, or you go out there and they're not on the road, that's all that public good component. Or the call outs at night because somebody's cattle beast is broken through down Matarawa Road.
You're not buying the.
We can, but it's incredibly difficult when you've got to prove who it is, or the wandering cattle beast that came out of the Tararua Park. The ram that fell off the back of the trailer that we had down at the pound for a week or so, but he actually was quite good because he got a bit of money from the sales, which
Or the cows
covered his
wanted on
costs.
in front of a train recently. wasn't it?
Yeah. There's actually quite a lot of complaints that we receive. Ducks, like they're actually a really big one in town. People complain about their neighbours' ducks. If there's any wetland areas. So, it's those kind of things where you can't go and bill somebody because you've gone around to have a conversation about, can you please keep your ducks contained within your property? So that's part of what makes it that 20%, Brian.
okay?
Yeah, it's not.
So the animal control
It-
is
it's
funded
a
by
cost.
dog registrations, is what
The
you're
dog
saying.
registration covers the dog control part that will be cost neutral.
Yeah,
There is a public good component that covers the other part of it that we can't recover costs from, like your general complaints.
okay.
Yeah, crowing roosters,
And-
pigs.
And is it an 80-20 rule as far as the work is concerned? 80% is on dogs, 20% is on others?
I would say definitely, if not 90-10,
Right.
when you consider it. But when you have a look, stock on roads is actually quite a big one.
Yeah.
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 And even if you go out there and you get a complaint about stock on roads, you may go out there and have a look. And by the time you've gone out there,
They're gone.
the farmers realise that the stock's on the road and they're back in the paddock. And you've got no idea which paddock they're back in or whose stock it was.
But you hoof up a few of the offending sheep.
Yeah.
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 Okay, thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Got a question about failing to register a dog. There's 17 there. Is that dogs that have been found roaming and they're not registered, or do you do like spot surprise checks at Sparks Park to try and identify? Because I know there are dogs out there that are not registered.
We know that there are dogs out there
And I'm
that
just wondering
Yeah.
how you proactively get those dogs.
some of these will be dogs that have previously been registered.
Yeah.
That when we send the registrations out, they haven't paid re-registered their bill.
Yeah.
Often people will come in and go, oh, damn it, I forgot to tell you, Miss Fluffy, Von Fluff, is no longer alive.
Yeah.
So, things like that. But the failing to register will be the things that we've then sent on to the courts. Because once we go through that process saying you need to register, you need to give us some results, happy to set up a payment plan. But once it gets to a certain point, it's now handed over to the courts to recover that cost.
Okay.
So that will be the reflection on that one.
Okay.
We don't proactively go down there and walk along Sparks Park with a microchip and And can be scanned.
We find your dog.
What percentage of dogs are not and have never been registered?
We tend to probably in animal control work more on that reactive basis if they are picked up.
Yeah.
And they're scanned and they're not registered, we deal with it at that stage because we actually have them in our,
Have needed your attention.
so have needed our attention.
Is it fair to say that an unregistered dog is likely not to have a collar?
I would personally think an unregistered dog, it's probably unlikely that you're going to have it out at a public park. Or if you are, you're probably taking a bit of a risk.
Yeah. So there's not many in public.
Well, you don't know. We don't know that.
Don't know.
Because if your dog is outside your property, you are legally required to display its registration tag.
You legally, it has to have a collar too, doesn't it? Is that a legal requirement that a dog has a collar on it?
You could have a choke chain with a tag on it, couldn't you?
It's not a collar.
Still a collar.
Yeah.
Harness, is a harness a collar? You're just legally required to display the dog tag if it's outside of your property.
Interesting.
Or they could have their ears pierced.
Very true.
Yeah, so there will be other unregistered dogs around, and you do have a certain period of time, like if I think a dog to a friend up north to show, they can have them up there for so long
Okay.
before they would have to register them at a council.
But you don't think it's a big enough number that we need to be proactive about finding these unregistered?
I think I probably prefer my animal control officers to be doing information, dog education, following up on the people that we know haven't paid their fees.
Which is a no.
Yeah, if we saw something like if the elected members want us to go wandering around and spot microchipping, we can take that as a direction. I'm not sure it's the best use of the officer's time for, we haven't been told that there's a problem yet, or evidence that there's a problem.
I purely just think it would be interesting to know what percentage of dogs aren't. But I'm not saying you have to do anything about it. It would just be a point of interest.
And actually, it would be those more likely that you don't know about the dogs that have been brought in that haven't been, registered in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, there's some who don't register. Most of those will probably register when given a reminder.
Yeah.
But it's the ones who intend not to register would be the hardest to find.
Yeah. And we had really good success rates. We sent very little off to courts.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Cool. Good. So I'll move to recommendations. Are you happy if I take them both together? The first one is we receive the report. Second one is we adopt the report on council's administration of dog control practices as set out in section 5 for the period 1st July
Oh.
20.
234.
Delete the three.
But yeah.
30th of June 2025 under section 10A Dog Control Act 1996.
I'll move.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Newman. All in favour? Okay. Carried. Thanks, Sol. Right. 8.8. Financial report for the period ending 30th September 2025. Welcome, Mark.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, everybody. In essence, take the report as read. I just want just some headline numbers in that for you. I guess for the first quarter, we achieved operating income of about 8.3 million against operating expenditure of 6.3.
Was again 8.3.
8.3 versus 6.9.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's quite healthy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So revenue is about 15% ahead of our budget. Expenditure is about 2% below.
So we'll stay within the rates cap.
So yeah. So from a net surplus point of view, it's 1.4, which is about 400 above on our budget.
Mm-hmm.
But the main driver for that, I guess, is the carry forward, the timing difference of the 1 hour grant of $1 million. It's flowed through now into the new year. It wasn't in the original budget. We've had a 17% spend against our capital plan. And we, of trying to encompass a few variance analysis there for you. There's a bit of work that we need to do on our phasing of our budget and some allocations of overheads between some of the different cost centres. We spoke about at the policy projects about the event centre and some of the movement between community and parks and overhead recoveries and some of those elements that will help alleviate those discrepancies over the remainder of the sort of 9 months. Yeah. October's results, when you look at October results, are not too different to the numbers that you're looking at the moment, and I should have a look at the November results this week. Still early days from a numbers point of view, but we're still on the right side of the ledger at the moment. Happy to take any questions.
I always felt with our council, when we're not blessed with alternate revenue like some of the big cities are, like parking revenue, right? We just get nothing from that, do we?
I guess we're not actually promoting, penalising people for that. I mean, people can go and park for extended periods of time, and I guess it's a community goodwill gesture.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Marston's the same, doesn't have much, and Greytown doesn't. So it's just one of those things where it's just an alternate revenue stream that helps, when times get tough.
I think it does help that the police community help is more in Masterton than it is in sort of Carterton area here. But point noted.
Questions?
Just one thing, Mark, the petrol tax behind budget and the trend is a steady reduction. Is that New Zealand wide or is it Wairarapa? Do you know?
I think it's probably nationwide because the move is towards more road user charges. And so the petrol tax is sort of a diminishing return.
And EVs.
Yes.
So we don't get anything back from, although they use the roads and everything, we don't get anything back from EVs or road users. Yeah.
It's utes. Diesel utes.
Do we use diesel or petrol cars?
Most of our operational vehicles are diesel ute.
Right.
That's primarily because they're four-wheel drive.
Oh, right. Need rural areas. Yeah.
And it's only actually here where you've been able to buy a hybrid ute, and they're substantially more expensive.
Yeah.
And our pool vehicles are petrol. We do have two. I know the building and regs team have hybrid Toyota RAV, which and EV that we use for building inspections.
Yeah. Just interesting, because I'm a hybrid as well as an EV, and I pay twice as much on rucks with the EV than I do an excise tax on the for per kilometre travelled. So but it's still cheaper to use my EV because I charge it by the sun. So overall, it's better, but it's quite a differential. And I think the government's looking to equalise that by putting everybody on ruck, so everyone pays more.
And we can collect more.
And we what?
And our council will be able to get a bigger collecting because we'll all be getting a refund back on the rucks rather than petrol tax.
Your worship, while we're on EVs and solar, and there was a question before about how much solar income have we received off the solar farm, and Bex and the team were able to look at it. We've got 8 months worth of income at the moment. Extrapolating that out to an annualised figure, we expected about $35,000 a year in terms of credits we're getting back from solar panels.
That's whatever we're using ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about that is that's actually a really good figure, and it makes me wonder how much is actually being used by the pumps versus how much is being exported. I don't know.
That's another question I can ask you. So I answered one, and I've got.
I'd actually go talk to
Oh, yeah.
Ricky. So,
23,000 for 8 annualised is about 34.
yeah, 16,000 was exported.
you go.
So what 7 used on site?
That was, weren't you saying that was the amount of cash we got?
We get a credit,
Yes.
and some of that credit we use ourselves on our current account, and some of the credit is exported. So it's 34,000 annualised, or 23 for the 8 months. But as Lawrence highlights, we use some of that ourselves, and some of that is exported.
But what about
We're
how are we actually using ourselves?
On the site,
Yeah.
it's worth 7,000.
Okay.
Is it? Oh, okay.
So 7,000, is that what we're buying as grid power versus?
That's the meter not spinning
Yeah.
on the pumps during the day when the sun's shining.
Right, I get it, right. Okay, so that's our free power. Yeah.
Yep.
It's good. It's really good. Does make you think that it's such a good revenue stream, we should expand it.
You've got to ask though, how much did it cost to do the install?
Yeah, about 380,000.
Is
But,
And it was government funded.
oh, was it?
Yes.
But then you look at return on investment, and if you've got, say, something like a 15 to 20% return on investment, that's a pretty good investment. We put money into investments with the managed funds, right? And okay, that's got no capital cost, but it does bring back return.
Mhm.
And so is it wise use of capital?
Correct.
Add it to the workshop list.
Depends how long they last.
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah.
Past our time.
Raises lots of questions
I think it gives you
for another day.
I apologise, I'm distracted. I don't know, it was a question that was asked, and I was distracted from Mark's report.
Got a question on your report, Mark. Just bring it back to that. Just on page 113, operating expenditure, stormwater, which was 115% budget expenditure spent. And you've got an explanation that stormwater is above budget due in main to depreciation, and that you mentioned that the depreciation rate on one of the stormwater assets nearly doubled. So I was just wondering if you could explain that a little bit.
I'm not too sure. Thank you.
I can. So we went through an asset revaluation at June last year, and all of our infrastructure assets were revalued. We set the budget for our annual plan before the revaluations were completed. And so the revaluations on this particular asset came higher than we had anticipated, hence why we've got this difference between a higher value asset. When an asset is revalued, we are required to then increase our depreciation based on the new higher values, and that's what's happened in the case of the stormwater asset.
Thanks.
I had a question with regards to the event centre on page 115. You mentioned that the report was tabled at Policy and Projects Committee meeting. Is there any reason why in future it couldn't be tabled along with these financial accounts as well, since it's all part of the big picture?
No, happy to do that. We can put it as an appendix from another day. That's fine.
Could I note that we normally, so if we're on page 115, you'll see there we list them based on activity, community services and facilities, corporate governance, operations.
Yeah.
And so we have the lower level detail at activity level. The event centre is a subset within an activity, so it's a layer even lower. And the reason we didn't propose to bring that up here was A, it had gone to policy and projects, but B, it was also 2 layers down, so it was quite operational based, and we were hoping that council was wanting to see the big picture here and the detail at policy and projects. Now, if we've got that wrong, happy to readdress that, but that was our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a follow-up into Grace's question?
Sure.
I see on page 117, event income is broken out.
67.
Yeah, it is.
So if it's broken out there, then should expenditure not come under operating expenditure as well?
Probably should be broken out. It's if you comment. Happy to do either, but it felt like we were repeating the same.
I think it would be fine to table the big report at policy and projects, but if we're pulling out event income, I think we should pull out event expenditure.
One of the growth revenues we've got here, growth in revenue, is rates penalties. Is that signifying anything that should be of concern?
I can answer that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Conscious Mark's new. So rates penalties are charged once we roll over the rating year, and they're usually charged once a year. So I think we potentially have a budget phasing problem because we should have phased the budget all in the early part of the year because there's not a lot of rates penalties that will occur in the remaining months. So I think in this case, it's more likely that the budget will rebalance itself over the remainder of the year.
So it's a booking issue.
I think it's a timing issue, and I'll ask Mark to check that. But I believe, knowing what I know of the rate system, I believe that's what's happening. It's the actuals won't change that much, but the budget we've phased.
Our community is not going broke too quick.
Correct.
Yes, I agree with Councillor Casey. It's probably just the way it's written in that paragraph.
Yep.
It rings alarm bells.
I will want to assure you, I don't think it should, because when we've had a conversation with the rating team, there isn't that much of a material change between the 2 years.
Great.
Just in terms of revenue, where does our income from our investments come in? Under what sort of heading is that? Or is it like miscellaneous or?
It is. It's called miscellaneous.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Well, you've got the finance revenue, which presumed is interest.
Yes, correct.
And I actually think the change in the managed funds is here is fair value change.
Correct.
It is correct.
Yep.
So, yeah, but because we don't actually get any cash as such, because they just gets reinvested, the value is going up.
Yep.
And we don't budget for any change. So.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Swings and roundabouts, really.
I had one more question. Might be one for, or actually,
It's for Mark.
it could be for Mark.
Thank you.
So with I'm interested, I couldn't remember exactly what was all combined together. So we've extrapolated out the event centre funding. It's also tied up when there was library, like what's left in that pot.
Parks and community, so that's all.
Yeah.
And Glenna's sort of portfolio is encompassing around that, eh?
Okay.
Yep.
And libraries.
And library, yeah. So when we've taken it out for the purposes of us having transparency over the numbers, it's not going to filter into these reports. These ones just have to stay at the broad activity level. We can't add categories within the report.
So it's still in.
Yep.
So when we look at community services, it will still include parks, libraries, economic development and event centres.
Yep.
It's still in that group. What
Yep.
we've just done is create a separate section so we can report on it separate.
Okay.
So it's a partition, basically.
Yeah.
Yep. Are you leading toward a question on?
I was just wondering if there's a reason why we couldn't have it reported in its own little pretty line, where we have it listed as a activity in of itself. In that there's going to be conversations that our council has over the next few months leading into the long-term plan about how we try to alleviate that ratepayer burden. And I'm just wondering if having within the spreadsheets a line that we can look at clearly, it just helps us not blur that line between the library costs and the Parks and Reserve costs. And it's still, for the purposes of these reports, it's still unhelpful, in my opinion, to get that full picture of what the event centre cost is, because it is still activity-based in these main financials.
So on page 117, if you look at the statement of financial performance, we can just bring it in on the expense line. It'll give you some more visibility, I think, there.
Yeah.
Then you got the event income we spoke.
Yeah.
We'll bring that the expenses.
Yep, so on that sheet, okay,
Yep.
yep,
That works.
yep.
I've got a follow-up question to this.
Can I temper Mark's enthusiasm?
Lovers enthusiasm.
I'm aware it might be far more complicated to create an activity at this level because it will change all of our annual reporting and auditing. So can I ask to look at that further? Get the question. I don't want to, in a rush, agree to change something that may. I'm just conscious the system behind us is quite complicated, and I don't want to upset audit. But
I appreciate not wanting to upset audit.
I get you'd like to create an activity level at the same level of governance, transportation, water, etc., for the event centre, which I think may require also creating a balance sheet for it. And that's more complicated than just having a cost centre, if you know what I mean. The cost centre is like a profit and loss.
Yeah.
Creating an activity at this level, I think, means we've got to create an entire balance sheet for it and have the funding impact statements, and it's a. I'd like to work through that if that's possible.
Follow-up question. I know it was really hard to pull the event centre out of that community service. Is the same to be said for the library? Like if we ask tomorrow, can we see the cost of running the library? Is that available to us or no?
Right.
I'm not saying I want, I'm just asking.
18 months later.
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I think personnel costs would and our operational costs might be easier to separate. Challenge might be the building itself is essentially one single asset.
Yeah.
It has been through a number of revaluations. So, look, we've done it once. It might be easier the second time.
I'm just wondering, because it might come up in conversation and it would be nice to look back on it if we had to look back.
And then
Let's try this as well.
At the risk of really, we've got a $450,000 depreciation charge for the event centre. Does that include the library?
No,
Interesting.
I don't know you much talk.
no.
I'll do the next one.
So therefore, do you know the percentage that the library holds compared to the event centre?
Like square.
Yeah. Like if you've figured out how to depreciate it,
Well,
does the same work for the building?
where does the Rangatahi hub go?
Where have you put that in the depreciation?
Good room. Courthouse.
So that's not included in the depreciation, that 450,000.
No, the event centre depreciation is event centre. We did do calculations to separate out a percentage of the asset relating to the library. So we've answered one question and ended up with three. Very productive.
shall I move to the recommendation quickly?
Thanks, Mark.
I get the question.
Yeah, I get, and let's see what I'd like to answer and provide you with the information that you require.
Thank you. So with that, we have one recommendation, that's that we receive the report. I'm happy to move. Thank you, Councillor Newman. All in favour? Against?
You can wipe your brow now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, meeting schedule 2026.
Your worship,
Tēnā koutou katoa. As the report outlines, council must adopt a schedule for the forthcoming year. It looks a relatively simple document on the top, but I can assure you a lot of coordination and pain and effort goes into coordinating across particularly the other councils and the other regional activities that go on. So there's you'll see there's quite a few workshops, which is largely driven by our LTP program that will start early next year. And we've kept the meeting-free July available as well. We have scheduled an annual plan workshop at the end of January, which isn't showing on this current one. That's an addition, as well as a sensitive expenditure policy workshop, which is at the beginning of February workshop as well. There's the annual plan hearings and deliberations are penciled in there, depending whether we are consulting or not, but they are reserved in that space, as well as the risk and assurance committee meetings. We're hoping that those will be the confirmed dates, but that's just pending the appointment of the new chair and the calendar in regards to other mahi they might have going on. Other than that, happy to clarify or answer any questions.
Questions?
Just in terms of, so I haven't really fully looked at the calendar, but we have room enough for workshops as they, like planning workshops in advance is great, but there's obviously going to be things we really need to do as well. And Wednesdays really is the day that most people are available.
Yes. Yeah, so our effort is to keep 2 Wednesdays. It's just trying to block that out for everyone. But as we head maybe towards the pointy end of next year with long-term plan, there may be some additional. And of course, you've got a lot of other decisions and thinking going on next year with various legislation and changes. So yeah, it may shift and move, but this is a list a line in the sand that we can start with.
So does it actually mean in some cases that we might substitute one workshop for another simply because of priority?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you'll see the mayor and CE sessions are penciled in there as well, as a bit of a holding pattern for anything that comes up that needs to be discussed.
And I think we've also discussed between the ELT and the mayor and deputy, what is the flow over? If we do have more things than we can fit into a Wednesday, where is the release valve? Is it a Thursday? Is it a Tuesday? So how do we deal with a greater workload for council, noting that time is precious?
I guess the more notice, the better, the easier it is, isn't it? Because everyone's got their diaries filling up personally as well.
But if we, our preference, and I presume your preference, is that there is a specific overflow day, time, rather than having it change at the moment. So we've dedicated Wednesdays, and as we spoke, we try and give January free and July free, apart from the 28th of January, which Councillor Lawrence has to come back from holiday early.
What a sacrifice.
So those 2 months is meeting free, and then Wednesdays only. But particularly with the long-term plan, we discovered that there is more work that is required and more decisions that are to be discussed. So we need that overflow.
Has any thought been given to, you may have done it already in the past, but rather than necessarily an overflow day, you go into the evening on the Wednesday, or is that just too long a day?
That would be your council's call as to what you would prefer.
Yeah.
We'll work with that.
We would try and give you as much notice of that, if you've got other work that you're doing as possible. So, but yeah. So if you said it's
something to consider anyway,
meeting was likely to be an overflow opportunity, or Friday morning, or doesn't necessarily need to be a whole day.
I think discussions that we've had, it was a Thursday morning once a month, if possible, as an extra overflow.
We should, didn't we?
Yeah.
Not sure carrying on into the evening after a day where you start at 8:30 or 9 in the morning would be wise.
That might not make good decisions by the end of that.
Well, as long as there's a glass of wine available, I'll agree to anything.
I think
Remember that, Paul.
should be a slight improvement in decision making followed by
If you want unbudgeted expenditure.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Where Johannes used to come in with a multi-million-dollar.
Now drink for this first before you read.
Any further discussion on that? Sorry, when Jeff mentioned Steve coming back from holiday, I was thinking that he was away getting his ears pierced and a tattoo.
I understand you regret your tattoos later, so.
Okay, if there's no further questions and discussion, we have 3 recommendations there, and I'm happy to take those 3 together. One is that we receive the report. 2 is we adopt the schedule of meetings for January to December 2026 as outlined in attachment 1. And 3 notes that meeting dates and or times may be changed by agreement with the chair and the chief executive and will be advertised as required by the Act. We have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Della. Councillor Casey, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Jerry.
Cheers.
Right.
Doing risk insurance, right, okay.
Risk and Assurance Committee Work Plan 2026. We are getting there. It's certainly gone past my estimation.
Thought it was a lighter agenda.
Good afternoon.
Maybe lead off if you like, mate. RNA, relatively heavy agenda for half a dozen meetings, 5 or 6 meetings during the year. Likely to have an additional meeting as we get to our annual report. So once we're from audit, we will schedule in another meeting in between August 2026 and the end of October. And that's all down to Audit New Zealand's timetable and whether or not we will have an audited document ready for you in draft before it goes up. Other than that, I guess the feedback would be this is our current plan. We don't have an independent chair. We'll consider appointing an independent chair to the Risk and Assurance Committee, and they may wish to look at or amend the timetable and the work plan.
Questions?
That was just going to be my only comment, that there'll be a new chair who might have some thoughts on what the work plan looks like, so could be a moving document.
It's just worth noting, as it says in here, so I'm just repeating what it says, that this had been in front of the Risk and Insurance Committee that most members attended, so they're familiar with it.
So, I mean, if we could actually discuss recommendation 2, and could we just add to that and say approves the Risk and Assurance Committee work plan for 2026, subject to our new chairperson's approval. Do we need to add that?
I think the Risk and Assurance Committee have authority to look at their own work plan and suggest recommendations to council. That's already in their terms of reference.
Cool.
Leave it as it is. So if there's no questions or discussion, there's 2 recommendations there, and I think we can take those together. One, that we received the report. 2, approves the Risk and Assurance Committee work plan for 2026. I'm happy to move. Seconder. Deputy Mayor, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Mark. 8.11, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act requests. Back, Gary.
Best for last, thank you, Worship. So our standard reports. So our legoimas, it's still relatively low numbers. I'm pleased to say we don't have, I think we're on 0 that are open, which is fantastic, although they're rolling every day, so it changes. But probably the one that will stand out of note would be the proactive release document that we did on Flat Point, which was a lot of work to do that, but ultimately will hopefully solve and save some time later down the track. But happy to answer any questions.
I just have a question around that, Jerry. Do we need to just say publicly, because normally we charge for legoimas, do we need to just say around that one that of whether there has been a charge or whether there hasn't and so forth? And I don't think it was mentioned in the report at all.
Oh, no, so there wasn't a charge, as I understand, because it was a proactive release on our behalf, so that we chose to release the information. So while it was significant hours, I know that was at our own cost. If not a comment on that.
Yes, I don't have much more to add.
Jerry, I guess there's two ways. When someone asks for information, they probably don't normally consider legoima as such. I assume that you provide information just as a matter of course, but only if you refuse to provide information would a legoima request be issued. Is that right?
I think our default stance is that we'll steer things towards treating it as a legoima if it's information, because it's likely that other people may want to know the information as well.
Yeah.
And we haven't got anything to hide, or because we publish them online and they're available to other people as well. So we generally will have that consideration. Will we treat this as a legoima? And
so what's the threshold there? I mean, like if I'm inquiring about my property, that's not a legoima, is it? Right, that's just
if you were saying, on my property, do I have a drainage consent or something like that, then no.
Yeah.
But if it was if you were inquiring about somebody else's property, or if you were asking more general information.
About property rights.
Right.
Yeah. That's sort of in the public interest.
Okay, so it's your definition. Hey, this request looks like it's in the public interest. We'll treat it as a legoima.
There's a number of criteria and things under the Act. But I think we've taken the stance we're on the side of transparency, I guess, overall.
And I think publishing the legoimas on our website is one of the key steps. So we don't just issue you our response. We
let everybody else know
response. We put it on the website. So if anyone searches for the same thing that you've asked for, we've already released it.
And then we can also just refer people, because we do have often ones that come up again and again. We can just refer them.
And does legoima involve central government at all? It's entirely internal to us?
Internal to us by and large. But if people aren't happy with our response, or they would like to complain to the ombudsman, then they'll move to that space. We do get requests from central government agencies as well. Or sometimes a legoima might be us and a central government agency as well. So,
and also across councils?
Yes, often there's the same legoima goes across these councils, but also nationally. There's a lot of national bodies that will ask a general question of all councils.
And LGNZ as well?
Sometimes, yeah. But
not recently,
generally.
but sometimes.
Yeah. They may do that. I mean, they normally would get that information directly from you as elected members if they were seeking, I guess, general information.
Okay.
Further questions? Discussion?
Can I just clarify, Jerry? There's been 2 complaints to the Ombudsman. I thought we'd had 2 inquiries from the Ombudsman as opposed to a complaint. So the process that the Ombudsman goes through is they will receive a complaint and make an inquiry of us. And that doesn't necessarily mean they are going to investigate the complaint. It just means that they are inquiring as to where council's position is at. I know we've had at least 1 inquiry from the Ombudsman. I don't know if it was a complaint. It may have been registered as a complaint.
Are you in complaints? Are they in the?
No, he's in Lagoima.
Lagoima. I'm in Lagoima, just on page 128, top of 128. Yeah.
But yes.
I will clarify, but sometimes what can be considered a complaint is actually just an inquiry, and the ombudsman doesn't take it.
Just a question about, did you say that Lagoimas are normally charged for? So
If it's substantial collation of the word, it's going to take us a long time to collate the information. We'll
right,
go back to them and tell
so
them
it depends on the effort.
and then work out what the estimated time is going to be.
Yeah.
But by and large, we manage most of them, what we would do is maybe try and refine down what they're actually looking for, because sometimes they don't know and they'll just ask a quite a large, wide-ranging question. Sometimes we'll
Do you
go
think
back.
AI would start to play a part? Like, can we put some information available that AI can search or not? Take the load off you.
Often the requests are quite specific, either to a property or a warring set of neighbours.
You've got to watch.
Sometimes they are very specific from organisations based on recent political announcements. And then often we get requests from university students that are attempting to complete doctorates or theses and use councils as a great source of data. So potentially there may be an opportunity for AI, but I think it's a lot of it is quite current, and I don't think there'll be sufficient information to divert that into the robot has the job.
And our information comes from such a variety of sources, so from emails to our document information system to what might be held by individual officers and their individual files. So, yeah. Be nice to plug that in now. Produce a little for that. Yep.
Thank you.
In relation to the Lagoima about the region, how long did it take to figure out what the actual question was?
Quite some time. There was quite a lot of additional information that the requester was providing that was irrelevant.
Religion.
Yes.
I'll move to the recommendation. We have one, and that's that we receive the report. We have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Della. Thank you, Councillor Burns. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. And
Last.
8.12, service requests and complaints.
Yes. Again, just a regular report that we're bringing. We have made an addition to this report around the tickets currently open by department. So just to give you a sense of where those outstanding service requests are sitting, and roading obviously stands out as one there, which is our most common source of service requests in terms of numbers. Yeah, but they're looking pretty good as well.
You have information on average time it takes to service a request?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's reported in our annual report, and we are looking for our next quarterly financial report that we bring up the non-financial metrics to council as well. So we'll report that, and when we bring the December quarter up, which will be the February, I think it's the February meeting, we'll bring some non-financial data up to you.
Just back to roading open request at 81. Jerry, is a lot of those easy fixes, or do you know, or are they is there a lot of big stuff in there?
I do, and no, they're not. A lot of them are really hard fixes, and the roading team don't like to close it if they know it's an issue, and potentially they can get to it, but they don't have the budget right now. So there could be quite a lot of questions around, I want this particular bridge, which may be a long-term fix. Para Road, where we know, we've got some challenges, but the fix is actually quite substantial. So I do know the roading team don't like closing things if they, just because they can't get to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Further questions? Discussion?
Note about the complaint about the public toilets. Just to,
It's pretty crappy.
we need a workshop on that.
Maybe we just need to trial closing at night for a period of time and see what happens.
Absolutely, a trial makes it reversible.
Can we move a motion? Pardon the button,
Very good.
Sorry, it's getting late.
I was going to say.
You thought of it, you realised as you were saying it.
Could
Yeah.
suggest to the executive.
We're out of paper.
Use your laptop.
We have one recommendation. And that's that we receive the report. I'm happy to move. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Newman. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Jerry. Rightio. I need a mover and a seconder to move us into exclusion of the public. Thank you. Sure, we have time.
We invite you just to the table if it's possible.
Thank you, Glenda.
So we've spoken to the parks team and they have come back with a bit of information about the polls. So the incident that happened yesterday, so at the currently, our contractors employ 2 staff during the week, and they bring in a third over the weekends. So they have one on-call person that they call in on a as needed basis. That on-call person wasn't available yesterday as to why there wasn't 3 there. Noting that the weather is still really nice today, they've got 3 on site today. All the weekends and the holidays, they've got 3 on. Our current capacity for all 3 pools is around 150, and that is depending on the 3 lifeguards being there. So we've got to keep an eye on, monitor all 3 pools, people that are coming through, and what's happening in and around the facility as well. They currently roster 2 weeks in advance, but obviously with the weather, they can switch and change that as needed. They don't want to employ 3 staff on a daily basis because if it's raining tomorrow, there's no reason for 3 of them to be there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
So the 150, just to be clear, is in the water or in the facility?
Yeah.
In the water.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to manage than the number that come into the facility, isn't it?
Yeah, because they still have to monitor how many come into the facility as well. So ideally, they've got eyes on who's coming in, what's happening in the pool, what's happening in the whole facility.
It's like parents will be coming in, monitoring their kids, but not necessarily swimming themselves.
Yeah. I think it would be a really rare occasion that we would have over 150 people in the water at one time.
You wouldn't be able to get in the water.
I mean, these hot days this early in the season are unprecedented. This time last year, it was so cold that we didn't have anybody in the pools for the first couple of weeks. So, yeah. You can go.
Can I just ask that our comms team put some communication out just around that so the community have an understanding of why it might potentially be limited to 100 people on a certain day?
Yep.
Because one of the lifeguards.
Yep.
I hope they don't look at us that then we should have a spare lined up that they can bring in to replace that third one and treat us like trans dev.
Yeah, Marcus gave the nod that yes, they can do that.
Just going back to, you've only got 1 lifeguard, it's 100 people in the water.
No, 2 lifeguards.
2 lifeguards.
Yeah.
as a minimum.
Yeah, so our minimum is that we would have 2 lifeguards there at all times, depending again on the weather. If it's a really terrible rainy day, there probably is only a need to have 1 person there. But our minimum on any given day is 2.
Thanks, Glenda.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No, my only
That's okay.
question would be like clarity around, but I think you clarified it. The 100 people, like yesterday, there was 100 people. That wasn't total in the pool area. They were actually counting the bodies in the pool.
They were counting the bodies in the pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All bananas.
Yeah.
Fab.
Yeah,
It's good news.
It's good news.
It's an easy answer.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The amount of people we should be charging them.
It sounds like another workshop, Ryan.
We're getting a few.
Well,
aren't
it's
we?
be a Thursday morning.
That's a
And
long-term plan.
we could have parking meters on the footpaths because they're blocking the footpath, so they have to pay to stand there.
Totally agree.
Any ideas?
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Right, on that note, I'll move that we move into exclusion of the public. We have a second, Deputy Mayor, all in favour?
Okay.
Carried.
Very good. So